There is a striking parallel with the similar incident in today's first reading from the book of Daniel and the gospel that we heard. In both stories, a woman threatened by a crowd is saved because one person intervenes and alters things. The stories, however, end very differently, one in peace and the other in violence. At the end of Susanna's story, Daniel turned the crowd against the woman's accusers, demanding their deaths by stoning, and the crowd, in a frenzy emotion, obliged. In the gospel story, Jesus calmly backed down the accusers of the woman caught in adultery. Unlike Susanna, this woman probably was guilty, but that was incidental to what was happening. Like Susanna, the adulterous woman before Jesus was there because of jealousy and mob frenzy. And Jesus, like Daniel, confronted the crowd. His protest to the crowd was more penetrating in conscience than Daniel's. Let the one without sin cast the first stone, and had a very different effect. The woman was saved, but the exact opposite of mob sin hysteria followed. Jesus' words not only saved a woman, but diffused a potential explosion. Nobody died. Instead, everyone went home more attuned to humility and truth. One of our most common weaknesses is our tendency to participate in gossip, regardless of whether we are the initiator or the contributor. Gossiping is already bad enough. However, the damaging aspect of gossip is that judgment is also involved. And whenever we gossip about someone, it is pretty likely that the person's reputation is tarnished and his or her character is smeared. And adding to that, these kinds of judgments can also literally cost a life, as we heard in the first reading. In the gospel, Jesus showed us what to do when we encounter a gossiping or a slandering session. His initial silence when asked for a judgment on the adulterous woman showed his one concern. His concern was for the woman who had already suffered so much degradation and came to the point of almost losing her life. So the next time, before we initiate a gossip or even make our contribution, let us remember this scene of Jesus stooping down and writing in the sand in silence. By our silence, others would know our opinions. It is also a good time to ask ourselves, how often have we unhesitatingly judged someone for wrongs they may or may not have done without ever considering our own culpability? Picking specks out of others' eyes while there are planks in our own. All of us have had bad experiences. And Jesus wants us not to get stuck there. Let his words speak to us. Neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on, do not sin anymore.